So I'll preface by saying Trip Radar isn't completely gone here in Minnesota, but in my personal experience, it's nearly non-existent. Let's discuss. Just under a year ago, I actually made a video discussing how Trip Radar needed to go. It was just chaos, constant notifications, and my guess is that the majority of requests were ending up in Trip Radar. And also, I'm not sure if this still exists, but when I was in destination mode, I would get Trip Radar requests that were outside of my destination, requests that I could care less about. I was in destination mode, I didn't need to see those Trip Radar requests outside of my destination. And I also discussed in that video that the main reason for Trip Radar is the upfront fares are so bad that no one wants to accept those live requests, and then those live requests are pushed to Trip Radar. And I would occasionally accept the Trip Radar request, but it would probably be 1 out of every 20 Trip Radar requests that I saw. It was a waste of my time overall. But back on December 1st, guaranteed minimum rates during period 3 were implemented here in Minnesota. And those rates are $1.28 per mile and 31 cents per minute during period 3 again when you're transporting a passenger. So the compensation here now is actually fantastic and weird. There's really no reason for Trip Radar anymore. I personally drive Mondays and Tuesdays all day, and I'll be lucky to see 1 or 2 Trip Radar requests throughout the entire day. And this is completely different than the absolute barrage that I was seeing just under a year ago. So if you compensate drivers well, like we are here in Minnesota, this means drivers are accepting more requests. This means those live requests are getting accepted, obviously, and those requests don't have to be pushed to Trip Radar anymore. And my acceptance rate before the guaranteed minimum rates were implemented here was hovering around 25%, and in comparison, I'm currently at 63%. And 63% isn't a great acceptance rate, but it's over double what my acceptance rate was before the minimum guaranteed rates were implemented. My acceptance rate was hovering at around 75% initially after the new minimum rates were implemented, but I have since stopped accepting pretty much all minimum fare requests now because of how our pay is structured here under the minimum rates. But if I were to guess here in Minnesota now, I'd say the majority of drivers are probably accepting 70% of all requests that are coming in because we are finally being compensated properly. And in turn, this has to be reducing wait times for riders. Overall, my utilization is definitely down under the new minimum rates, and this is obvious. Most requests are being accepted by drivers now. That's less requests that go to Trip Radar. That's less live requests that I'm declining. I'm not declining 75% of my requests anymore, and this reduction in utilization isn't a big deal because we are compensated so much better for our time now. So again, Trip Radar is basically non-existent for me driving Mondays and Tuesdays here in Minnesota now. I've never liked Trip Radar. I've always thought it was a terrible feature. It's just a race to the bottom for drivers. But what about all of you in Minnesota? Are you seeing a massive reduction in Trip Radar requests? What about those of you in other markets? Is Trip Radar still a major issue? I personally hope that guaranteed minimum rates reach every single market and Trip Radar can be eliminated forever. If you've yet to download the Solo app to help you manage your rideshare business and earn more, our referral link is in the description. We also have a free newsletter, and the link to sign up for that is in the description as well. And I'm going to make a 2-month update video of my experience here in Minnesota so far under the guaranteed minimum rates. So make sure you're subscribed so you see when that's uploaded. If you've yet to see my previous video demoing the trip experience in the Lyft driver app, be sure to check that one out. Thanks again for watching and drive safe. Thanks.